Welcome to the deep dive. For centuries, when we've asked the biggest questions, who are we? Where does it all come from? We've tended to look, well, up.
Right, we've built these incredible structures, temples, pyramids, cathedrals, massive efforts, all pointing outwards, upwards. The idea was the divine, the source. It had to be out there.
We project it onto the cosmos, maybe into special buildings made of stone. That's kind of the historical pattern, isn't it?
It is. But the sources we've gathered today, they explore something radically different, something quieter maybe, but much more intimate.
And that's the revolutionary idea we're diving into. What if the divine isn't outside you at all? What if it's inside you?
Exactly. We're looking at this ancient, really cross-cultural idea that the self, the Atman, is actually identical to the infinite, to Brahman.
That phrase, the kingdom of God is within you. That's the core we're exploring.
Yeah, and this deep dive is kind of a shortcut for you through some profound material. We're drawing from the Upanishads, the Bhagavad Gita, stories, even connecting it to other traditions like Buddhism and Christianity, and importantly, how it lands for us today.
Our mission, then, is to explore the blueprint of this maybe-forgotten temple, the one inside your own heart.
So let's start at the roots, ancient India. The earliest stuff we have, like the Rig Veda hymns, that was very much about dealing with the outside world, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Right.
Worshipping powerful forces of nature, Agni the fire god, Vayu the wind, Surya the sun. Lots of rituals.
Precisely. That was the Karma Kanda phase outer rituals. Perform the ceremony, get the blessing.
Yeah.
It was quite transactional.
Please the gods, get good crops, that sort of thing.
Right. But then the sages behind the Upanishads, maybe around 800 BCE or so, they started asking a different kind of question. They had perfected the external worship machine, but they realized, hang on, who is doing the worshiping?
That's a huge pivot,
Ooh.
a fundamental shift in focus.
It really is. Moving from how do I please the gods to who am I? Who is the seer behind my eyes?
And this switch from outer ritual to inner inquiry, the Jnanakanda, that leads to these incredibly powerful statements, the mahavakyas.
The great declarations, and they just smash the old idea of a separate creator and creation.
Yeah, these aren't gentle suggestions, they're radical claims. Like, aham brahmasmi.
I am Brahman.
And the really famous one, tatyafamasi.
Thou art that. Not just a piece of it, not just related to it. You are that.
It's saying divinity isn't just in your soul. It is the essence of your soul, the Atman. And that essence is identical to the infinite Brahman.
It's a complete relocation of the sacred. And the Bhagavad Gita takes this truth right onto the battlefield, into the middle of human action and, frankly, human crisis.
Krishna doesn't hold back with Arjuna, does he?
Not at all. He tells him straight up, I am the self, O Arjuna, seated in the hearts of all beings. He's not just out there designing the cosmos. He's right here, inside.
The inner resident. And he goes further, doesn't he? He claims responsibility for our inner faculties.
Yes, that's key for understanding the intimacy. He says, I am seated in everyone's heart. From me come memory, knowledge, and reason. The very consciousness that lets you think, remember, understand that is the divine self.
Wow. Okay, so this inward turn, it's powerful in the Indian context.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating that it doesn't just stay there, does it?
No, definitely not. If you look around, you see these incredible echoes in other wisdom traditions that emerged around the same time or later.
Like the Buddha.
Absolutely. The Buddha sort of sidestepped the whole external deity question. He said they weren't really relevant for your liberation. Nirvana wasn't a reward from outside.
He was the state revealed when ignorance falls away, right?
Exactly. Which leads to his famous instruction, Atta Dipo Bhava.
Be a lamp unto yourself. Put the power, the responsibility, squarely back on the individual. You find your own light.
And Jainism, too, has this powerful vision of inner potential. The Tirthankaras, the great Jain saints, they achieved divinity purely through self-purification, through inner discipline.
Their philosophy basically says the soul itself is God. Once it's cleaned up, it shines.
The whole axis shifts inward, from relying on external powers to unlocking the power within.
So if we follow that thread, even in Christianity, which often gets framed as focusing on a God up there in heaven.
Right, but the thread is definitely there, maybe sometimes overlooked, but it's there. The clearest example has to be Jesus in the Gospel of Luke.
The kingdom of God is within you.
Exactly. That's not locating it in some future paradise or distant realm. It's within you, now.
And you see mystics like St. Augustine really running with that. Didn't he say something like God is closer than...
Yeah, God is more inward to me than my innermost self. Beautifully put.
So the pattern seems clear across these diverse paths. Divinity isn't confined to a temple building or a distant heaven. It lives within the soul.
That's the golden thread, absolutely.
Okay, philosophy is one thing, but stories really bring alive. And the Upanishads have some amazing ones, like Nachiketa and the Katha Upanishad.
Oh, Nachiketa is brilliant. The perfect student, you could say. He goes to Yama, the Lord of Death himself.
And Yama offers him all sorts of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Wealth, long life, worldly pleasures.
Everything. But Nachiketa refuses it all. He wants the third boon. The truth about what happens after death, he won't be distracted.
He really pushes Yama. And what's the ultimate secret Yama finally reveals?
The big one. The self is unborn, eternal, undecaying, and ancient. It is not killed when the body is killed.
So immortality isn't something you get later. It's realizing the deathless nature you already have inside.
Precisely. It's a realization, not an acquisition.
And Adi Shankaracharya, the great Advaita philosopher, he summed this up so powerfully, didn't he? That Sanskrit phrase.
Ah, yes. Deho devalaya prokto jivadeva sanatanda.
Which means
The body is declared a temple, and the individual soul is the eternal deity residing within.
that completely flips the script on sacred spaces. The real temple is this body.
Right, and the highest form of worship isn't necessarily an elaborate external ritual, but the recognition, the honoring of that deity within your own physical form.
It reminds me of the story of Prahlada, too. His father, the king, mocks him, asking if his god is even in a stone pillar.
And Prahlada, with total faith, just says, yes, he is everywhere. And boom, Vishnu appears as Narasimha, bursting right out of the pillar.
It's like the ultimate mic drop for divine immanence. God isn't just in holy places. God is everywhere, especially in the heart of someone with faith.
Exactly. The presence is pervasive.
But this raises a crucial point. If divinity is within, what's the exact relationship between my individual soul and that ultimate divinity or God? Indian philosophy really dug into this, didn't it?
Oh, deeply. They mapped out a whole spectrum of possibilities. This is where we get the major schools of Vedanta.
Okay, let's start with the most radical one, perhaps. Advaita Vedanta, Shankara's school, non-dualism.
Absolute non-dualism, the core idea. Atman, the individual soul, and Brahman, the ultimate reality, are not just connected, they are one and the same. Identical.
So the feeling of being separate, of being this limited person.
That's Maya illusion, like mistaking a rope for a snake in the dark. The realization, the enlightenment, is seeing through the illusion. It's aham brahmasmi, I am that ultimate reality.
That's a mind-bending concept. It erases all separation.
Completely. But, you know, that idea of total merger, losing individuality, doesn't resonate with everyone. Many people feel a deep need for a relationship with the divine.
Which leads us to the other end of the spectrum.
Exactly. Dvaita Vedanta, founded by Madhvacharya, dualism.
So if Advaita is about oneness, Advaita must be about difference.
Eternal difference. In Dvaita, God, usually understood as Vishnu, and the individual soul are forever distinct realities. Think more like a king and a loyal subject, or a master and a servant.
The soul depends entirely on God.
Absolutely. And the goal isn't to merge, but to find eternal joy in loving service and relationship with God.
But wait, does this mean God isn't within in Dvaita?
No, that's the nuance. Even in Dvaita, God absolutely resides within the heart. But as an inner companion, a distinct entity who witnesses and guides. The relationship is intimate, but the two remain separate. Liberation comes through God's grace and the soul's loving surrender to that inner presence.
Okay, so we have total oneness and eternal difference. Is there a middle ground?
There is, and it's often very appealing. That's Vishishadvaita, or qualified non-dualism associated with Ramanujacharya.
Qualified non-dualism. So distinct, but not entirely separate.
Exactly. Think of it like this. The soul is distinct from God, but inseparably united. Like a spark is distinct from the fire, but it's still fire, right? It shares the essence. Or like the soul is part of the body of God.
So you maintain your individual identity, but you're intrinsically connected to and part of the whole.
Precisely. Distinct yet inseparable. It allows for both identity and unity, relationship, and oneness.
It's amazing how these abstract philosophies actually get mirrored in physical things, like temple design. You mentioned the journey inward.
Yeah, it's a fantastic analogy. Think about a traditional Hindu temple. You start outside at the huge gateway tower, the Gopuram.
Represents the world, the senses.
Right. Then you move through halls, the mandapa, areas for gathering, preparation. Each step is moving inward, leaving the noise behind.
Until you reach the very center.
The Garbhagriha, the womb chamber. It's usually small, dark, silent. That's the heart, the innermost sanctum where the deity resides, where the self is found. The whole building is a map for the inner journey.
Okay, this is fascinating history and philosophy, but let's bring it right here, right now. Why does this ancient idea of an inner temple matter for us, dealing with, emails, deadlines, anxiety, the sheer noise of modern life?
That's the crucial question. And interestingly, modern science is starting to show things that resonate surprisingly well with this ancient wisdom.
Like in neuroscience.
Yeah. Studies on meditation, which is essentially the practice of turning inward to find that stillness consistently show changes in the brain. Areas linked with peace, self-awareness, emotional regulation, they become more active, more developed.
So the capacity for inner peace isn't just wishful thinking. It's something we can actually cultivate neurologically.
It seems so. And look at psychology. Carl Jung talked about the God image within the psyche. He saw the journey towards wholeness, individuation, as fundamentally involving a turning inward to connect with this deeper archetypal self.
Almost like a psychological blueprint for this inner divinity.
Kind of. And even in theoretical physics, some interpretations of quantum mechanics suggest this underlying unified field of consciousness, where the line between the observer and the observed gets really blurry. It hints at that non-dual perspective the Upanishads talked about millennia ago.
Okay, so science offers some intriguing echoes. But let's get really practical. For you listening now, what's the real-world benefit of truly grasping this idea that divinity is within you? Let's talk stress and anxiety.
It's potentially revolutionary for managing stress. If you deeply realize that your core self, the Atman, is eternal, unchanging, untouched by external chaos, it creates this incredible inner resilience.
An anchor.
An unshakable inner anchor. The Gita uses the image of the ocean rivers constantly flow into it, but the ocean itself remains full and unmoved. That's the state of inner peace this realization can bring, even when life is throwing stuff at you.
And what about self-worth? So much of our culture tells us we're valued based on external achievements or looks or wealth.
Right. Realizing I'm Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, completely short-circuits that. It replaces the relentless self-criticism and comparison with a fundamental sense of inherent dignity and completeness.
You stop seeing yourself as flawed or lacking.
Exactly. You recognize the perfection of the self that's already there, beneath the surface noise of the personality. It's incredibly empowering.
And how does it change how we relate to other people, to society?
Profoundly. If you genuinely start to see the self in you as the same self in everyone else, the yogic ideal of seeing the self in all beings and all beings in the self,
Then the basis for judgment, for division, for us versus them, it just dissolves, doesn't it?
it has to. It fosters deep compassion and understanding. It's the practical outcome of that Upanishadic phrase, Ishavasyam idam sarvam. This whole universe is pervaded by God. If God is in me and God is in you, how can I truly harm you without harming myself, harming God?
It becomes the ultimate ethical foundation.
It really does.
So if someone is listening and thinking, okay, I get the concept, but how do I actually experience this inner divinity? The traditions offer paths, right? The yogas.
Yes, they lay out practical methods. For instance, meditation, dhyana. That's the path of silencing the mind's chatter to directly perceive the quiet, witnessing consciousness within.
Disciplined inner listening.
Right. Then there's bhakti yoga, the path of devotion. This is about cultivating intense love and feeling for God as a constant, intimate inner companion. Think of mystics like Mirabai. For her, Krishna wasn't an abstract idea, but a living presence in her heart.
Feeling the connection.
Exactly. And for people geared towards action, there's karma yoga. That's selfless service. Seeing God in everyone you encounter and serving them without any attachment to the results, without needing reward or recognition. Gandhi's focus on Daridra Narayana, seeing God in the poor, is a prime example.
Action is worship.
Precisely. And finally, Jnana Yoga, the path of wisdom or knowledge. This uses sharp self-inquiry, constantly asking, who am I, to cut through layers of identification. I am the body, I am the mind, I am my job, until the fundamental truth reveals itself.
The truth be.
Jivo Brahmaiva Napara, the individual soul, is, in reality, none other than Brahman.
So whether through silence, love, service, or inquiry.
All roads lead inward to the discovery of the divine self that was there all along.
Okay, let's try to capture the essence as we wrap up.
Yeah.
The sources consistently point to this inner reality. The Katha Upanishad says the self is the light by which everything else shines.
And the Gita confirms that consciousness in your heart is the source of your ability to remember, to know, to reason. It's not just in you, it is you at the deepest level.
So the ultimate takeaway, perhaps?
I think it's this. We spend so much energy searching outside ourselves for validation, for happiness, for God. But the most profound truth, echoed across millennia and traditions, is that what we're searching for is what we already are.
The divine isn't hiding in some distant heaven or future state. It's the very essence of your own being, right here, right now.
The search doesn't end out there in the cosmos or in a building or even in a book. It ends in the stillness of your own heart.
The final invitation, then, is to simply stop looking outside for proof of your own divinity.
You are already what you seek. That's the power, the liberation of Tatsibamasi. Thou art that.